Any questions right now?
All right. All right. Welcome to another episode of your personal branding podcast. Benrard Kelvin Clive here. Today, I have a special guest, and Loren, welcome to the podcast show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Wait, so when we talk about personal branding, digital marketing, all that, to you, what is personal branding really all about?
For me, personal branding represents a level of self-worth, and being able to know who you are enough and be self-aware enough to show up into the world and be that. And I believe that's where true authenticity lies as well, is by knowing yourself to be able to show up clearly for others.
Okay, so let's look at this. A number of people begin branding themselves by going on digital platforms, primarily LinkedIn or IG or TikTok, and they blast with, nice profile pictures, avatars, and all of that. And I mostly have an issue with that. But you mentioned something which is very critical. You said that it begins with self-awareness. Tell us about that beginning stage of building a personal brand. Self-awareness. How do I get to know myself, then begin to build a brand in that right direction?
Yeah, well, the first thing to know is that becoming self-aware and getting to know who you really are, and even unlearning all the things we've been um, forced to know since growing up, it takes time. And when it comes to personal branding, I believe a lot of people think that it's an overnight thing. Okay, like tomorrow I'm going to have this huge personal brand. But as we begin to know ourselves and reflect on how our experiences have shaped us, how different situations have helped us build the character and the values that we have today. Yeah, it's just important to know that that takes time. But a way that I've been able to shape my personal brand, and of course, mine is still even growing and evolving every single day. Um, I like to journal and I like to reflect again on how my past experiences have really impacted my worldview and how I show up and how I give and the types of impact that I want to create. So that's something I would definitely recommend is journaling for sure.
So let's look at journaling. Someone watching or listening to us is, Loren, journaling, this is tough for me. How do I journal? I don't want to write a book. I don't want a script. What are ways I can journal? Or I don't want people to also get to know all about myself. So what are the tips or I need to do in terms of if I want to go by the journal approach? What are really the tools or right things to do to grow, let my audience know I'm also growing and building my brand so I can carry them along my journey as well.
hmm So I definitely understand the point of, not wanting the entire world to know all of your laundry.
Yeah.
It's hard to feel like you can show up fully and authentically, but feeling like you're leaving parts of yourself as well. But what I want to say to that is you don't have to completely out yourself. That's not what personal branding is.
Uh-huh.
For personal branding, it's more along the lines of getting clear on, okay, this is the industry or the avenue I want to go down. Now, what lessons have I learned that are relevant to this space? So it's more about finding the relevance within everything. Now, obviously, for a deeper introspection, that's great for yourself. But when it comes to what you share online, it's important to know what's relevant to this space. So again, ways that I like to do it is,
Mhm.
let's say if I was going for an interview, and I know that this job or this career path requires me to, be able to deal with certain types of situations. So the same way you would prepare for that interview by listing, okay, I've been in this experience at my past job. I've done these few things. You'll do the same thing for your personal brand as well. So knowing what your audience wants to hear, knowing the type of impact you want to make, you lay out all the experiences that are relevant that they need to know that will give you credibility and that will give you that authority that you need to speak on those topics. And so that's where I would start by listing all the experiences, situations, or even the times you've been hurt and or the times you even failed and
Mhm.
listing those out, laying out the story behind it and really going deep. I think that's where a lot of people miss out as well. Um,
Mhm.
Going deep is uncomfortable and it actually requires a lot of time and energy out of you. And with social media now and how short our attention spans have become, we think that anything hard mentally is not worth doing, but
Yeah.
it's completely untrue, especially for this space if you want to have a successful personal brand. So yeah, I would definitely recommend starting with your situations, experiences, and past losses or lessons that you can use as stories to start creating your future content.
Okay, to add a little bit to that. So sometimes to what I tell people that you can also begin by doing the FAQs in your field. So just
Mhm.
list all the things you believe people frequently ask you regarding in that field area. Then begin to start sharing that because that's a good starting point. People can then relate with that. Oh, okay, in this field of maybe career, in this field of business, these are the challenges, these are the problems, and most people may ask or may need solution to this. So you start by sharing in that area. Then you use that to build confidence in yourself in your
Mhm.
area, and you begin to move. Now, Lawrence, someone is transitioning from one career to the other. Okay, maybe I'm in the field of HR. Now, I think I'm beginning to love AI technologies and all of that. I want to really transition. How pick a typical career and how one can transition from one to the other using the general approach so that my audience can buy into me, believe in me that I've come from somewhere, I'm going somewhere, and I still have knowledge relevant in still in that field.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Um, I believe that changing careers, one is a beautiful thing, and sometimes it's necessary for our overall growth and evolution as people. I feel sometimes it's preached that we need to stay in one lane all the time, become an expert in that
Mhm.
life. But what's beautiful is that we do have the ability to change and to choose. And so that's amazing. And then the second thing I will say is by, how can I put this? People love joining people's journeys.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is people don't like when you just come and automatically you're the expert. They don't have any relationship with you. They don't know where you came from. So by starting where you are and even stating, let's say with the example you gave, um, they're coming from HR by saying, I'm currently in HR and I'm looking to start this journey and head into the field of AI. That's a beautiful journey. Many people will start asking questions like, oh, wow, like what got you interested in that? Or what's going on? How is this going for you? And so by taking people on the journey with you, it's a better approach and it takes away so much stress rather than just trying to immediately be the expert. So by sharing the first intention of wanting to transition, then getting into the process of how you're transitioning, what classes or courses are you taking? Who are you networking with? This is even an opportunity to start reaching out and connecting with other people who might be good mentors. So there's lots of opportunity in showcasing the journey. And I would definitely say that's the best way to make that transition, especially when it's on a social platform.
Okay, so yeah, that's right. So a bit of information to add to that is that, because we are in the me era, everybody wants to put themselves out there as experts. When you borrowing her words, when you become vulnerable, you let them know, okay, this is a new field. I'm not the
Mhm.
expert in that field. I was an HR expert, or I'm an expert in Y, but this is a new field I'm transitioning to. You can come along with me on that journey. I'll share my successes, my failures, my learnings. Then people begin to see, oh, wow, okay, this person is for real. I mean, uh, um, we can trust him or her along the process. To throw in that, about 15, 16 years ago, when I began writing extensively and publishing the books, one of the things I did in terms of borrowing your word, journaling processes, I began teaching people how to write and publish. So maybe one of the approach I always share, always find a core group of people you want to share your knowledge with for free, not for a fee, for free
Mhm.
at the beginning. So I get people together virtually, but for free trainings. Then I start transition from them based on the trainings, I get a lot of FAQs. In the next
Yeah.
section, I have then paid little low entry fees, get them into it. So you'll be building your journey with them, learning, upgrading. So they tend to trust your process. So now most of them is okay, we know where he started from and where
Mhm.
he is going and what he's done. So they tend to
Yeah.
trust you. You became vulnerable from the beginning. You let them know your flaws, but still polishing it along the way to let know that okay, you are also growing. You can also hold their hands to where they want to grow. Now,
Yeah.
L- Lauren, in addition to this, I want you also to share a bit of your story from that aspect so that uh,
Yeah.
listeners can also, I mean, appreciate the growth process.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to your point that you made about starting for free, that is the most important thing. And I feel, especially when people are trying to hold themselves of high value, it's hard to be like, okay, but this is free. I'm doing this no charge. It makes you feel some type of way if you don't understand why you're actually doing it. So I think
Mhm.
that's very important. But yeah, going back into my journey, wow. Where do we even begin? Because I've done a lot of things from scratch.
Tell us all.
Yeah, so I guess we can start within my very first business.
Mhm.
Um, I started a hair care company called Lavore. This was when I was very, very young. I believe I was about 18 years old, but I was very ambitious at this time. And through this company, I had to learn and rework my products. Mind you, I had no idea about anything about hair care. I was completely
Oh.
new. But my mom, she would make these homemade products for us and we would use it on our hair. And so I was like, okay, let me see how I can brand this and, bring it to life. And so from then, I started using my personal brand and just talking about the products and showing it on my own hair and really just going out of my way to try something new. And it even required me to get uncomfortable.
Mm.
And again, I want to highlight that fact too, because
Yeah.
growth lies within our discomfort and we have to be okay. And before we even start the journey, we have to accept that discomfort and frustration and having those learning lessons are all part of the journey. So from there, I would go door to door in the city of Milwaukee where I was schooling and knocking
Oh.
on business doors, and just going to different salons and different retail stores and asking like, can I speak to the manager? I want to get my product in your location. Mind you, I was so young, I didn't understand how we needed the barcodes. I didn't understand any of that. I was
Mm.
like, I want to place my products here, so how can I do this? Fast forward, thankfully enough, I was able to place my products in 4 retail locations, which was really nice, despite being so new. But from there, it really taught me that you have to show up with confidence. You can't be afraid to try, and just, be, like you mentioned, vulnerable. I didn't know how to pitch myself, but I would write on my little piece of paper, remember my lines, and just go speak to these random people asking for their manager. They're like, who is this young girl
Mhm.
asking for the boss of this place, trying to get her products in here? So that was one of the stories where I had to learn how to, find confidence within myself. But pivoting outside of that, when I really learned that through my first few ventures, I loved marketing and I loved, sharing my story and being motivational and helping inspire people. That's when I got into marketing. But at the same time, I wasn't yet an expert. I didn't really have the background to back me. So I started hosting free
Mm.
trainings. And I even started working for businesses for free. I moved to Atlanta. I started working with local Black-owned businesses and just taking on their marketing campaigns, doing everything from the photography, videography,
Mm.
putting together the entire campaign, running the campaigns. I did everything for them for $0. And most people would be like, I'm not doing all that work. But for me, I was like, one, I need the experience. And I am a firm believer on creating your own opportunities. I knew, okay, these jobs that I'm looking for straight out of college, they're entry level jobs. They only will allow me to be in one space of the business, but in reality, I need to know all of it. So how
Yeah.
can I get that experience? I'll give it to myself. So that's what I did. And yeah, I just poured everything I had into making these campaigns successful. And many of them were very, very successful. And the sad part is I had to move after, so I couldn't really fully commit. That's when I started coming to Ghana. Um, but yeah, really my journey has been built off of in my entire career, my business now, and how I was able to now work with some of the top radio stations, Christian hip hop radio stations in the world, record labels. Like where I am now is because of I was willing to start for free. And so I want to highly recommend anyone who's listening, create your own opportunities. Don't allow, what you see now to be what limits you, because once you know where you want to go, it's just up to you to build that table for yourself. So yeah, that's a little bit about my journey and how I was able to, scrap my way from nothing, literally $0, negative dollars in my account, to now I can only just thank God for where I am today. So yeah.
All right, that's amazing. You journey about your growth and your brand. The challenge for a number of people, young people in this age, is that they want to see the money, but
Yeah.
they don't want to put in the effort to get there. They want to show us like big brands or like what the big guys are doing, but without
Yeah.
putting in the efforts. So that start for free is a big lever for a lot of businesses and major brands because
Yeah.
one of the things you mentioned, you need to firstly need the confidence in yourself. So you need to put
Yeah.
yourself out there and test the waters with your level of confidence, level of product or service that you're bringing on board. And that is the only way is free. And
Mhm.
so the free is you are paying it forward. You are doing that, paying for preparing yourself, your products are way ahead of time. And it's the entry level for any successful business person or brand. That fee you get feedbacks and also experience in the various fields to grow. And the other
Mhm.
thing is, you rightly mentioned, many also will start out and they think that the success will shoot up boom. No,
Mhm.
you'll knock on certain doors, you'll be rejected. People say, who is this girl? Where is it coming from? Who is this guy? What is he trying to do? We would have
Yeah.
gone to the brand ABC, but if you keep on showing up consistently, doing the things, learning through the process, you eventually get to the point where people say, okay, wow, we saw him or her coming up. We can see that there's growth. We can see there's change. So to you as an individual, if during this free period that you are using to build your portfolio. That's one of the things for brands, your portfolio. If you don't take time to build that, you'll be just trying to do things without substance. So putting yourself out there requires that level of confidence, consistency to practice, and also build that portfolio of yours, which is very important for any brand out there.
And one thing I want to add to that point is that when you're starting to grow your personal brand and you're starting in that free period, be very intentional about the direction that you're heading. Because let's say you're doing something for free, but it's not leading you to your end goal. You're
Yeah.
just trying to get people in the door. Next thing you know, a year later, you'll be looking back, but you're not anywhere closer to the goal that you were headed to start. So that's just also something important to consider as well.
Yes, you're right. So it's very important that you do your roadmaps well. You know where you are going from here, what you want to learn, what you want to acquire, how you're going to move from free to fee, and what you need to do so that you don't stay in that zone forever. We are talking about growth in building your brand. So find out, okay, what are the exit strategies? What are the point that I get us? Okay, now I believe I have the confidence, I have what it takes. I've got, I need to then put a price on it, or even something, even doing a free period, let me, okay, because you're my first client, it costs X amount, but you're going to have it for this. So in that
Yeah.
way, it's not just totally free too per se, but I think we also need to clarify all of that so that when people begin to put themselves out, they know, okay, eventually there's something because when you go totally blank free also in without defining the free, it
Mhm.
becomes very challenging when you start paying. But you're speaking for free, or you're right, you're doing free commercials for us, and you're doing no free video programs. But why then now? So it's important that we also educate people. What has been some of the major pitfalls or challenges for yourself when starting, and also what do you see young people also facing in terms of building their brands or their product service out there now?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest things to start would be overcoming that level of rejection. Rejection is very, very, very painful. And honestly, I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to experience it early, because
Mhm.
if you don't experience rejection and you don't learn how to grow from that rejection, it's very easy to give up. And that's what I see with a lot of young people now. They get rejected one, two times, and then they're like, okay, I'll try something else. And I just think it's very important to understand that rejection is a part of the process, and that Honestly, I learned, especially from going door to door. Not only did I do that with my business, but I also worked in sales as well. And when you go door to door, you learn that the next no leads you to your next yes. And so I got excited when I'm hearing the no's. I'm like, okay, cool. We're getting closer to the yes. Okay, great. We're getting closer. So it's really just reframing your mindset around rejection and learning to love it because you're getting that much closer to where you want to go. The second thing I would say it would be to trust the process. And a lot of times we see people online who are just showing all of their highlight stories and their wins. And it can make us have this level of comparison where we don't value where we are.
Mm,
But I just want to let you guys know that our entire journey matters. And even the hardest parts, when you're at home in your bed crying, don't know what to do, you're like, is this idea really worth it?
mm,
It's worth it. It's worth it. And even I've been there where I'm just in bed, like, wow. I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills next month. Like
mm,
I've been there and it's been really hard. But when you are committed to your journey, and that's the other thing, you have to love what you do. I was okay with being broke and doing what I love. I was like, I'm going to make it happen regardless. It's okay. But if you're on the other side of that, where you actually are just doing it for money, you won't be able to stand those long nights. You won't be able to sit down and know, like, okay, I actually have to spend the next however many months to become an expert in this one area to get the job done. And so, yeah, be okay with the process. Know that you will feel like you suck for a long time, and that's okay. That's okay. We all have to start somewhere, but it's required. And so, don't allow other people's highlights and wins in their life make you feel like you're behind because you're not. You're right where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's right. So progress might be painful, but if it's purposeful, I mean, you can feel the pressure and still push yourself through it all.
Yeah.
That's important for us to know, believe, and work in. One of the things you mentioned that I keep constantly crusading in the field of building brands or personal brand is loving what you do,
Yeah.
and finding a good point where what you do, what you love to do, also meet the needs of your audience or market, so that then you're sure of getting some profit or paid for the service or product. If not, you may just love it with all your heart, but there's no market and need, and that's the point where some people find themselves in because they might love the thing, but is you are just being obsessed with just for yourself. But once
Yeah.
you love the job, how would this also help somebody? How would it maybe excite, entertain, solve their problem in any way? When you find a good fit, then you know that you love it. You can stand all the night without money, but you know that it's solving a problem, it's meeting a need, the feedbacks are great. I mean, it's encouraging you. Then you know that you're certainly in the right field, your environment, and then you're able to stand, I mean, the challenges that come with it to eventually get a point where you know that okay, the dollars are dropping and
Mhm.
you are getting excited. That is what we want. We are all driving at that. You need to have this good mix. I mean, what you really love and what they really also need, and then a
Yeah,
good blend.
exactly. And I feel like sometimes there are these rare cases where some people do what they love without thinking about others in return. And really, business is all about being in service and having enough empathy to know why people need it and what they need. And so when we get so caught up in, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I love, we miss out on that opportunity to build that bridge. And that's really, I mean, it's a self-fulfilling thing and it's really great because the more you give, the more you get. But that's where the value is. That's where the money is. If you are not thinking about other people while you're also loving what you do,
Mm.
will be broke, unfortunately. And so that's why it's also just as valuable to love what you do, love the people who you're doing it for, and allowing yourself to open up to have that deeper level of empathy as to how to solve their problems and give them the transformations that they're looking for as well.
Awesome. Loren, I would like you to share what I call your $1 billion advice to the world, maybe in three nuggets, in 3 points or three lessons or whatever, what they really need to know from your heart, from your experiences all these years. What will be that $1 billion advice from Loren?
Okay. Let me think about that. That's a really big question. My billion-dollar advice. All right. So I have two that come to mind. The third one will come as I'm saying these. Number one is know your worth. And what I mean by that is how we show up matters, and what we choose to accept or not accept is a huge reflection of how we value ourselves. So just keep that in mind as you're choosing the different opportunities. For me, it's really important that I understand my value just as an African American woman, and how the different brands I choose to market, and advice I choose to give out, how it affects the community as a whole. And so there's certain companies, they could pay me millions of dollars. I wouldn't take it on
Mhm.
because it would be hurting the community,
Mhm.
you know? And so by knowing your self-worth and knowing who you are and where you come from, it will help you make better decisions that aren't just for yourself, but for the people you claim to love as well. That's number one. The second thing is to always strive to be excellent. Again, this
Mhm.
is something I'm really big on. Excellence isn't just something you do, but it's something we strive for every single day. And the people and the brands who choose excellence and strive for excellence are the ones who win, even in regards to customer service, how they consider their customers, how they do their processes, just how they show up in general. When you are excellent, people gravitate towards you. They want to be with you. They want to work with you because they know that your standards are high. And then it ties into your value as well. When they know that
Mhm.
your standards are high, they know that you also value what you do and you value them. And then lastly, it has to be trust the process. It's so
Yeah.
cliche, but the process is so necessary, and there's no shortcuts to the
Yeah.
process. We cannot shortcut it. It's not going to get any easier. And so I would just highly recommend that you commit to doing hard things. It will be hard. Depending on how far you want to go, it gets harder and harder. The responsibility becomes more and more, and we can't get away from it. But if you know for a fact that you don't like doing hard things and you don't want to commit to a career in a life filled with growth, then just stay where you are. But for the people who are okay with growing and learning and evolving, and learning about the parts of themselves that are uncomfortable, that we need to address to become better leaders, better business owners, better people for the world, then just know that the process will be required.
Awesome, Lauren. So one, you need to know your values and stand for your values to pursue excellence. And three is trust the process. There's are three golden nuggets or billion-dollar tips from Lauren. Lauren, now someone watching and listening says, "Ah, so who is Lauren? We've been hearing all this brilliant and wisdom from. Tell us about you, the work you do, and how people can connect with you both digitally anyway. Who's Lauren?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Loren Nelson. I'm a personal brand and sales coach, and I help entrepreneurs turn perfect strangers into paying customers online just by using their personal brands. And also, I am the founder and CEO of LMM Africa, which is a digital marketing company. And we help brands all over the world. Right now, we are working with some amazing clients within the Christian hip hop space, radio stations, and our goal is to really shift the narrative of how Africans view themselves, interact with others, and do business. So that is our goal. That's our mission. It's how we want to show up with the companies that we're also supporting to make sure that we're elevating each other without tearing each other down in the process. So where you can find me, my favorite platform is Instagram. That's where my community is. That's where the money is made. That's what we do. So on Instagram, you can find me at the Loren Nelson. That's LorenNelson, the Loren Nelson. And on LinkedIn, if you'd like to find me there, it's Loren Nelson as well.
Awesome, Loren Nelson. So the last thing I would say based on what Lauren said, all this is in all of this, make sure you have a community and also you choose the right platform. He said that IG is where the money is made, and that's where a community is. So you seeking to build a brand, choose your platform. It might be IG, it might be TikTok, it might be LinkedIn, it might be Facebook, it might even be WhatsApp. But choose your platform, be the best you can be in a platform. Show up every now consistently, give up your best. Don't forget a three golden nugget. What your values are, I mean, pursue excellence all the time and also, in the midst of all these things, in the midst of all these things, be yourself and trust the process that you succeed at it. Thank you. It's been a wonderful time with Loren Nelson on this podcast. If you're watching or listening and you gain great insight from this, don't forget to go on IG, look for Loren Nelson, let her know you heard or you watched her and the things you learn from and connect with her and hire her for the kind of things you want to learn from her, and let me know. You can also shoot me a mail as well. Lauren, is there anything you want listeners to know?
I guess the last thing I could leave you guys with is to not allow anyone to tell you your dreams aren't possible. Honestly, there's so many people in the world who are so negative, but just keep being you, keep showing up, and know that if you fully commit and trust God, He will help you find the way through.
Trust God, He'll help you find your way through. Keep pushing, keep building your brand. And this has been the Personal Branding Podcast Show. My name is Benrard Kelvin Clive. Keep listening, keep watching. Let others know that this has been resourceful and we'll be happy to assist you in any way that we can. The best is yours.